Look, I know what you're thinking when you hear my story. You'll label me the selfish one, the foolish one, the woman who threw away a sure thing. But honestly, I lived my best life in my 22nd, and I'm not apologizing for it. I'm Cora. I'm 31, and yeah, I had fun. A lot of fun. But now, everyone acts like I should just magically flip a switch and become some boring suburban wife who gets a thrill from comparing organic kale prices and binge-watching historical dramas. That's not how the human heart works. You can't just rewire your soul because society hands you a timeline. I met Landon 3 years ago, right when I was trying to do exactly that. Be the good girl everyone expected me to become. He worked in logistics, had his life buttoned down and perfectly organized, a steady income, a nice apartment in a respectable neighborhood. On paper, he was perfect, everything my therapist at the time said I should want. We moved in together after 8 months because it made financial sense, and because it was the natural next step. And he was safe. God, was he safe. Predictable. The kind of man who would never hurt me, never disappear for 3 days on a whim, never make me question his loyalty. But safe doesn't make your heart race. Safe doesn't give you butterflies. And after a decade of exhilarating chaos, of passion and men who kept me guessing, Landon felt like watching paint dry. In a very pleasant, well-ventilated room, but paint drying nonetheless. Tonight is Thursday. Thursday is date night. It's one of Landon's routines, etched into our shared calendar like a commandment. 7:30 p.m. Dinner, Cora and Landon. He's chosen a new Italian place that got rave reviews for its handmade pasta. It's thoughtful. He's always thoughtful. He sits across from me now, the candlelight catching the earnest, kind look in his blue eyes. He's recounting a mildly amusing anecdote about a shipping container that was mistakenly sent to Belgium. I'm smiling and nodding, making all the right noises. Oh, no, I say at the appropriate moment. That's hilarious, I add when he finishes with a soft chuckle. But inside, I am screaming. My mind isn't here, in this tastefully decorated restaurant. It's somewhere else entirely. It's in a dive bar in my early 20s, dancing on a sticky floor with a man whose name I can't remember but whose dangerous grin I'll never forget. It's on a spontaneous road trip to the coast, with a musician who wrote a song about the freckles on my shoulders. It's in the raw, messy, passionate fights that ended in even more passionate reconciliations. It was a life painted in vibrant, clashing colors. My life with Landon is a watercolor of beige. You seem a little quiet tonight, Landon says, his brow furrowing with concern. He reaches across the table and covers my hand with his. His touch is warm, steady, and completely devoid of electricity. It feels like being comforted by a brother. Just tired. I lie, forcing another smile. Long week at work. Well, we should have a relaxing weekend. I was thinking we could finally assemble that bookshelf for the living room on Saturday, and on Sunday, we can do our grocery run and maybe catch that new documentary everyone's talking about. He's planning. He's always planning. Our life is a blueprint, and he is the meticulous architect. I feel a familiar wave of claustrophobia wash over me. It's suffocating. This kindness. This relentless, gentle, soul-crushing stability. I pull my hand away to take a sip of wine. Later that evening, as I'm getting ready for bed, I get a text from my best friend, Eleanor. It's a picture of her 2 kids, asleep and angelic in their matching pajamas. The caption reads, "My whole world, so peaceful." Eleanor married her college boyfriend at 24. She's never known the wild uncertainty that I thrived on. She settled before she even knew what other options existed. I text back, "Adorable." She replies almost instantly, "How was date night? Landon is just the best for making sure you guys always have that time together. You're so lucky, Cora." Lucky. The word rings in my ears. I look at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. I see a woman who has everything she's supposed to want. A beautiful apartment, a loving partner, a stable future stretching out before her like a neatly paved highway. Everyone keeps telling me how lucky I am. So why do I feel like I'm in a cage? A beautiful, comfortable, gilded cage, but a cage all the same. Landon comes up behind me and wraps his arms around my waist, resting his chin on my shoulder. He smells of clean laundry and his familiar, gentle soap. "Everything okay?" he whispers, his voice soft with sleepiness. I meet his eyes in the mirror and nod. "Everything's perfect," I say, and the lie tastes like ash in my mouth. The pressure started around age 27. It was a subtle shift at first. The party invitations were replaced by wedding invitations, then baby showers. My friends, once my partners in crime on Saturday nights, were now discussing mortgages and school districts. The narrative was clear. If you want to be taken seriously as an adult woman, you find your person and you settle down. So, I tried. I really did. When I met Landon at a coffee shop near my office, he seemed like exactly what I was supposed to want. He was polite, asked thoughtful questions about my marketing job, and didn't try to get me into bed on the first date. He was relationship material. We started dating, and everything was fine. It was nice, comfortable. But comfort isn't passion. It's the absence of it. I keep telling myself that this is what mature love looks like. Maybe the butterflies and the heart-pounding excitement were just immature fantasies. But the memories persist, like ghosts at the feast of my sensible life. Tonight, Landon is working late, and I find myself scrolling through old photos on my laptop. I stop at one from my 25th birthday. I'm in a crowded bar, my hair a wild mess, a ridiculously happy, uninhibited smile on my face. A guy named Brad has his arms slung around me. He was a bartender with a poetry habit and a motorcycle. Our relationship lasted a grand total of 3 months, and it was a glorious, spectacular train wreck. He used to text me dirty limericks in the middle of my workday that would make me blush at my desk. He'd show up at my apartment unannounced with cheap takeout, and we'd end up making love on the kitchen counter, knocking over a bottle of soy sauce in the process. It was unpredictable. It was messy. It made me feel alive. With Landon, I always know exactly what's going to happen. Friday nights are for dinner and a movie. Saturdays are for errands and meal prep. Sundays are for laundry and Netflix. It's like being married to a schedule instead of a person. He tries. Bless his heart. He really does. Last week, he thought I seemed down. So he planned a surprise. I came home from work to find our living room transformed. He had laid out a picnic blanket, lit candles, ordered takeout from my favorite Thai restaurant, and even made a playlist of our songs. It was sweet. It was thoughtful. And it made me want to cry, because I felt absolutely nothing. Here was this wonderful man, putting in so much effort to make me happy, and all I could think was how I'd rather be anywhere else. The guilt was almost worse than the boredom. How do you tell someone they're trying too hard? How do you explain that their love feels like a cage? So I've started to rebel in small, petty ways. I stay out later for happy hour with my coworkers, letting the buzz of the city and the anonymity of the crowd fill the void inside me. Landon will text, "Hey, just checking in. When do you think you'll be home?" And a surge of pure irritation will course through me. I'm a grown woman. I don't need to check in like a teenager. But if I brought this up, he'd get that hurt puppy dog look and explain that he was just worried, which would somehow, infuriatingly, make me the bad guy. The sex has become routine too. Same positions, same timing, same gentle, accommodating approach. He'll ask what I want, and honestly, what I want is for him to just take charge for once. I want unpredictability. I want to be desired, not accommodated. But saying that would crush him. And then we'd have to have another 3-hour conversation about our intimacy needs, where he'd use phrases like emotional connection and safe space. Meanwhile, I catch myself watching other men when we're out together. Men with an edge, with a hint of mystery in their eyes, with that dangerous energy that used to drive me wild. Landon notices my wandering attention. His solution isn't to call me on it, but to suggest more activities to bond over. Let's join a gym together. Let's take a cooking class. Let's plan a weekend trip. As if boredom is something you can schedule your way out of. Each suggestion feels like another chain being wrapped around my neck, link by link. The ghosts of my past have started whispering louder. On a whim, I find myself looking up old flames on social media. Nothing serious, just a casual scroll that feels like a transgression. I land on the profile of Silas. He was a musician I dated for a while, all chaotic energy and spontaneous adventures. I send a simple friend request. He accepts within minutes. A message pops up. Silas. Cora? Blast from the past. You're looking good. Me, you too. Still causing trouble? Silas, always. You're looking very domestic these days. That one word domestic hits me like a punch to the gut. It's true. I've become domestic. Tame. I close the laptop, my heart hammering with a cocktail of shame and exhilaration. A few days later, Landon is trying to find a photo on my phone to show his mother. He's swiping through my gallery when a notification from Silas pops up at the top of the screen. I freeze. Landon pauses, his thumb hovering over the display. He reads the message. A simple, thinking of you. I brace myself for the explosion, for the anger, for the jealousy, for something. Instead, he just looks at me, his face a mask of calm concern. Is this someone I should know about? He asks, his voice even. He's just an old friend, I say, my own voice defensive. He hands the phone back to me. Okay, he says. If you feel like something is missing between us, Cora, we should talk about it. We can work on it together. Oh? And that's when I know for sure that I'm with the wrong man. A real man, a passionate man would have gotten angry. He would have shown some fire. Landon just wants to schedule a meeting to improve our relationship synergy. The final straw comes at one of Landon's corporate parties. It's a stuffy affair at a downtown hotel, full of men in ill-fitting suits and their smiling wives. I feel like an actress playing a part. I'm talking to a guy Eleanor knows from her husband's firm. His name is Declan. He's tall, confident, and has this glint in his eye that makes every other man in the room look like a boy. We're just talking about art, about travel, about the mediocrity of the canapes, but there's this electric chemistry sizzling between us that I haven't felt in years. Landon keeps interrupting. He materializes at my elbow with a fresh glass of wine I didn't ask for. He slings an arm around my shoulders, introducing me as his better half to anyone who will listen. I feel a hot flush of embarrassment. He's marking his territory, and it's clumsy and obvious. Declan watches this display with a faint, amused smirk. When Landon goes to get us another round of drinks, Declan leans in, his voice a low murmur. Your boyfriend seems attentive. The way he says attentive, with that slight twist of his lips, makes it clear what he really means: possessive, insecure, and boring. The rest of the night is a blur of me trying to avoid Landon and failing. In the car on the way home, the silence is thick and heavy. You seem distant at the party, Landon finally says, breaking the tension. Is everything okay? Something inside me snaps. The dam of resentment I've been building for 2 years finally breaks. No, Landon, it's not okay, I say, my voice dangerously calm. You were suffocating me. I felt like I couldn't even have a conversation with someone without you hovering over me like some kind of security guard. Oh, he looks genuinely confused, his hands tightening on the steering wheel. I wasn't hovering. I was being attentive. I was just trying to be a good boyfriend. The words are out of my mouth before I can stop them. Maybe that's the problem, I say, turning to look at him in the dim glow of the streetlights. Maybe I don't want a good boyfriend. The hurt that flashes in his eyes should have made me feel guilty, but instead, all I feel is a wild, terrifying relief. Finally, some real, raw emotion instead of his constant, suffocating understanding. The week that follows is a masterclass in passive aggression. We move around the apartment like ghosts, the unspoken words hanging in the air between us, thick as fog. Landon tries to give me space while simultaneously trying to fix things. He leaves me alone but keeps the apartment perfectly clean. He doesn't bring up our fight but is clearly walking on eggshells. It's exhausting. I start staying at Eleanor's place, telling Landon I need time to think. Really, I just need to breathe air that he hasn't already processed. On the third night at Eleanor's, I go out to a bar nearby, a place I used to frequent, and there, as if summoned by my own desperate longing, is Silas. He's sitting at the bar, nursing a beer, looking just as chaotically handsome as I remember. He sees me, and a slow grin spreads across his face. Well, look what the cat dragged in. Oh, we talk for hours. It's effortless. We laugh. We flirt. For the first time in what feels like an eternity, I feel alive. I feel seen. When he suggests we go back to his place, I don't even hesitate. Being with Silas is like coming back to life after being in a coma. It's spontaneity and passion and the raw, unvarnished feeling of being wanted. He looks at me like he actually wants me, not like he wants to take care of me. This is what I've been missing. This is what I've been craving for 2 years. I tell myself it's just one night, a moment of clarity to help me figure things out. But one night becomes two, then three. Silas is everything Landon isn't: spontaneous, exciting, a little dangerous. He doesn't want to talk about feelings or plan our future. He just wants to live in the moment, which is exactly what I need. Landon, of course, knows something is deeply wrong. He suggests couples therapy. I nearly laugh in his face. Therapy isn't going to make him interesting. It's not going to give him the edge I crave. I finally work up the courage to end things properly. I meet him back at our apartment. It feels alien now, like a museum of a life I used to live. He's sitting on the couch, looking smaller than I've ever seen him. I need more space, Landon. I begin, my voice shaking slightly. Maybe we should take a break. What does that mean, a break? He asks, his voice hollow. And then the question I've been dreading. Is there someone else? I could lie. It would be the kinder thing to do. But what's the point? I'm so tired of being kind. Yes, I say. The word hangs between us, ugly and undeniable. But that's not why we're breaking up. We're breaking up because we want different things. What does he have that I don't? He asks, and the raw pain in his voice is a physical blow. I try to explain. About chemistry and excitement and fundamental incompatibility. I try to explain that I need a fire, and he is a calm, steady lake. I can change, he says, his voice cracking. I can be more exciting. And that's when I know he'll never understand. You can't change your fundamental nature. The conversation lasts for hours. He wants to understand, to analyze, to find a solution. He keeps saying, but we built something together. Finally, I can't take it anymore. What we built felt like a prison to me. The words are cruel, but they are the truest thing I've said in years. Our life together was everything you wanted and nothing I needed. He flinches as if I've struck him. For a long moment, he just stares at me. Then he asks the question that will haunt me for months. So, all this time, he says, his voice barely a whisper, you've been pretending? I look away, unable to meet his gaze. Because, in a way, I had been. I'd been playing the role of the grateful girlfriend, happy to have landed a good man, when really, I'd been dying inside from the sheer, mind-numbing boredom of it all. Landon moves out within 2 weeks. He is civil about the whole thing, dividing our belongings fairly, handling the lease professionally. Even in heartbreak, he is maddeningly decent. The day he leaves, he pauses at the door. I hope you find what you're looking for, Cora, he says, and there's no malice in his voice, only a profound, bottomless sadness. Then he's gone. The door clicks shut, and I'm left standing alone in the deafening silence of my newfound freedom. I thought I would feel relieved. Instead, I just feel empty. Freedom, it turns out, is just another word for being alone on a Tuesday night with nothing but lukewarm takeout for company. The thrilling, passionate affair with Silas fizzled out within a month, predictably. Guys who are exciting and unpredictable don't usually want anything serious, especially not with a 31-year-old woman who just blew up her stable, long-term relationship. Shocker. The reality of my situation hits me harder than I expected. I wasn't 25 anymore. The dating pool had changed. It had been drained, and what was left was murky and full of bottom feeders. I re-downloaded the dating apps, my thumb swiping through a grim parade of men who either looked like they'd never left their mother's basement or were clearly just looking for casual hookups. The few decent ones who matched with me seemed to run for the hills when they found out I was fresh out of a serious relationship. Nobody wanted to be the rebound guy. Eleanor tries to be supportive, but I can tell she thinks I'm insane for leaving Landon. He was just so perfect for you, she'd say over brunch, her eyes full of pity. I'd have to bite my tongue to keep from screaming that perfect on paper doesn't mean perfect in reality. She found her person early. She couldn't understand the restless craving for something more, for something she'd never even known to exist. About 8 months after Landon moved out, Eleanor mentions she saw him at the farmer's market. He looks good, she says carefully, her gaze fixed on her mimosa. Really good. Happy. He was with someone. She doesn't have to say the rest. I can hear the unspoken accusation in her voice. He's better off without you, and everyone can see it. I start therapy again, partly because I'm genuinely struggling, and partly because it seems like the responsible, adult thing to do. My therapist, a kind woman with an arsenal of calming platitudes, keeps trying to get me to examine my patterns and understand my fear of intimacy. "Un, why do you think you sabotage stable relationships, Cora?" she asks one afternoon. "Because stable is boring," I say, for what feels like the 100th time. Because predictable doesn't make you feel alive, because sometimes love isn't enough if there's no spark. She doesn't get it. Nobody does. They all act like I threw away a winning lottery ticket. They didn't have to live it. They didn't have to pretend to be excited about Netflix marathons and grocery store runs. They didn't understand what it felt like to be with someone who loved you so much they wanted to protect you from ever feeling anything intense, including passion. The months stretch on. I find myself in the exact same situation I was in at 28, when I first decided to get serious about finding a partner. Single, dating men who wouldn't commit, feeling that familiar ache of wanting more but being unable to settle for safe. The only difference is now I'm 31, and the window for finding what I want feels like it's getting smaller every day. I try dating guys more like Silas, exciting, unpredictable, passionate, but they are also unreliable, commitment-phobic, and usually carrying more baggage than an airport carousel. The ones who are willing to settle down are usually guys like Landon, stable, kind, and safe. It feels like the universe is playing a cruel joke, forcing me to choose between passion and security, but never allowing me both. It's a gray Tuesday, 1 year to the day since Landon closed the apartment door behind him for the last time. My phone buzzes. It's a text from Eleanor. "Eleanor, hey, just wanted you to hear it from me first. I saw on Facebook. Landon is engaged." I stare at the words on the screen. Engaged. The word seems to float, detached from reality. I navigate to his profile. And there it is, a picture of him on one knee before a smiling, pretty brunette. She looks sweet, normal. The caption is simple. She said yes. Looking forward to a lifetime of adventures with my best friend. I feel a strange, conflicting storm of emotions. There's a pang of something that feels like rejection, even though I was the one who left. There's a strange sense of vindication we were right to break up. He's found someone who truly appreciates him. There's relief that he's happy. But mostly, underneath it all, there is a profound weariness. I'm tired. Tired of being the woman who couldn't settle, who wanted too much, who threw away good things in search of a better that might not even exist. Tired of defending my choices to people who think I'm crazy for wanting passion over stability. My friends are still waiting for me to admit I made a mistake. They hint that maybe I should have tried harder, that what Landon and I had was real love, and that the spark I was chasing was a childish fantasy. But the truth is, I'm not sorry. I am sad. I'm sad things didn't work out differently. I'm sad I hurt a good man, but I am not sorry for wanting more than a slow, comfortable suffocation. Maybe that makes me selfish, but at least I'm honest about what I want, even if what I want doesn't seem to exist for me anymore. I think about Landon and his fiancée. She's probably the kind of woman who finds joy in planning a future, who feels cherished by his attentiveness, who sees his predictability not as a cage but as a comforting embrace. She is everything I wasn't, and more importantly, she wants what he had to offer. He needed someone who would appreciate his steady, caring nature. I needed someone who could match my intensity and keep me guessing. Neither of us was wrong, we were just wrong for each other. Try explaining that to a world that tells women they should be grateful for any decent man who wants to commit, regardless of whether there's any actual chemistry. At 31, I'm starting to accept that maybe what I want is a paradox. Maybe the choices I made in my 20s, prioritizing fun and excitement over building something lasting, have consequences I'm only now beginning to understand. But I still can't bring myself to regret those choices. They made me who I am. Tonight, my apartment is quiet. It's my quiet. I pour a glass of wine and stand by the window, looking out at the glittering, chaotic city below. It's a city full of millions of stories, millions of hearts looking for their own specific brand of happiness. I don't know what my next chapter will look like. Maybe I'll find the fire I'm looking for. Maybe I'll learn to find warmth in a different kind of light. Or maybe I'll just end up alone. And for the first time, that final possibility doesn't feel like a failure. It just feels like a choice. I raise my glass to the skyline, a silent toast to the woman in the reflection. A woman who refuses to apologize for knowing what she wants, even if she can't have it. I would rather be alone and true to myself than in a relationship that looks perfect from the outside but feels empty within. And that, I decide, is its own kind of happy ending.